in a very short time, a Dr. Spies from South St. Louis, who was district governor of 26A at that time, came out with a charter, and within a very short time, there were 20 members who had signed the charter of the Rolla Lions Club. Colonel Woods was first and O.B. Jackson was second, and I was contacted by O.B. Jackson, and I thought it was a great thing, and so he said, well, who do you recommend that we approach? And I said, well, let's talk to X. Smith, who was in the hardware business there on Pine Street, and where Scott's bookstore now is. And we went back to the Rolla Herald office and asked Colonel Woods what he thought about X. Smith, and he said, oh, he's a fine fellow, yes, sure. So we went across the street and got X. Smith to sign the charter, and we asked X, who would you recommend? And he said, well, what about Rex Faulkner? Rex Faulkner ran a drugstore where the Town and Country Shop is now, Russell's Town and Country Shop. And we went back then to Colonel Woods and said, well, X. Smith suggests Rex Faulkner. What do you think about Rex? Oh, he's a fine fellow. Yes, let's have him. So we went across the street and got Rex. Now, I couldn't go much further than I have because my memory fails me as to who the next person was, but the reason I go into that detail is to let you know that every member who became a charter member of the Rolla Lions Club was unanimously approved as a member of the club. I think that's significant, and I'll tell you why in just a moment. But that is the way that the charter members were selected. I believe we had our charter dinners the same week, as I recall. I could be mistaken about that, but it was very close together that Rolla had two service clubs, the Rolla Lions Club and the Rolla Rotarians, first two service clubs in Rolla, and they were organized in the same week and had their charter nights the same week. Of course, the Lions thought that the Rotarians were just a bunch of old men that all they did was to eat, belch, and go home. But we had a lot of good, active young Lions like Claude Null and Colonel Woods and some of the others. And that was really the beginning of the Rolla Lions Club. I tell you that to illustrate to you that don't ever look down upon a bunch of rejects. You may be overlooking a very good person who can serve his community and serve it well, even though he is a reject. Now, as I say that every member of the club was approved by those who were first contacted. And so, if you were a member of the Rolla Lions Club, you knew that every member of that Lion Club was your friend, and he liked you, or you wouldn't have been a member. We had in our bylaws for the first few years the rule that one blackball would keep a prospective member out of the club. We followed that for quite a number of years. It had this effect that when we had a ladies' night, for instance, some special event, everybody was mingling around and saying hello and laughing and joking with everybody. And when the president rang the gong, nobody looked around to see who they were going to sit by at the table. They grabbed him a chair and they popped down, and it made no difference who was to the right or to the left of you or who was across the street. We also had a rule which I thought was a pretty good one, and we followed it for many years, that there was no liquor to be had at a Lions Club affair. You couldn't attend a dance or ladies' night or something of that kind and have liquor where you were having the meeting. Now, our meeting place was out at the Pennant Motel. Some of you can remember it, but some of you can't. The thing is gone now. It's burnt down, torn down. But it was a building that had a dining room, a kitchen upstairs. Downstairs, on one side was the men's restroom, and on the other side was the ladies' restroom, but in between was a soda fountain and tables where you could go in and have something to drink. But the dining room was upstairs, and it had I don't know what you call it, a room that was built out over the driveway. It was a filling station. They had pumps out further from the building, but this upstairs room was built out over the driveway to the filling station. It was rather a narrow room, but that is where we had all of our social functions, and there wasn't any liquor brought upstairs to the Lions Club meeting. We had a member by the name of Stubblefield, who was manager of the Pennant, and off to one side downstairs he had an office. And so you came, and first place you went was to the office. And you'd set your bottle of liquor down on his desk, and then whenever anybody wanted a drink, they'd go downstairs and go into Stubblefield's office. We had quite a few intermissions. Another thing, that nobody labeled their bottles. Nobody cared whether someone drank out of your bottle or somebody else's bottle. It was all there for all good fun, and everybody was happy to let everybody share whatever they wanted to share. This is what I think one of the things that made the club rather progressive at the time was the good fellowship that we had and the love and respect and honor that we had for each other. Our first major activity was a carnival. I don't have any idea whose idea that was, but anyway, the club decided to have a carnival. We had it in September, just right at the beginning of the school term, because we wanted to have the students here, figuring that they would contribute considerably to the success of the carnival by their financial contribution. We depended a lot upon the Rotarians, and that's one good thing that I can say for the Rotarians. They did support with their filthy lucre the activities of the Rolla Lions Club. Old Chief Bueller, who was the state geological survey chief, and he was a bachelor, and Dan Donahoe was an old bachelor. He had worked in an abstract office downtown. Every night of the carnival, every carnival that we ever had during their lifetime, as I know of, they would come and take a place at the bingo stand, and they would sit there and they'd play bingo until the carnival closed, and they did that every night of the carnival. So they made a substantial financial contribution to the success of our club. Hallelujah for the Rotarians. But we thought that the students would add considerably to our success, and we selected September as the time for having our carnival. At that time, the lot where the Raleigh Utilities office is, and where the present City Hall now is, and where the old Tucker Dairy building is, that was all a vacant lot, in behind what was known then as the post office, which is now the Raleigh Public Library. Can you imagine the Lions Club having a carnival on that little lot? Well, we did. And it was very successful. We took in a total profit that year of $2,000. And that was all of the money in the world as far as we were concerned. We gave away an automobile. I can't remember the make of it. I believe it was a Chevrolet. I'm not too sure about it. It only cost us $500 or less. Brand new automobile. Can you imagine that? Why, it costs you more now to buy an automobile than it cost Eleanor and I when we bought our home out on Salem Avenue, which, if you've ever passed by lately, you see it's rotted down. It was a nice, beautiful home when we bought it. But times have changed, and so have other things. We sold those chances on that car for 50 cents a chance. And let me tell you something. I was out here at Lions Club the other day, and I got 10 books of tickets, and in less than an hour's time after I left here, I had sold those 10 books of tickets, $5 each. It was much easier under this Republican administration. To sell a book of tickets for $5, and it was back in 1935 to sell one ticket for 50 cents. Line Jackson and Line Wood and myself went down to Newburgh one day to sell tickets. There was a man down there who was in the garage business by the name of Tuck Fordyce. And I was really embarrassed because Colonel Woods and the preacher Jackson literally picked him up by his feet and shook 50 cents out of him. His house was up for foreclosure. He didn't have any money. How he even had the $50, I don't know, but he was broke. He'd advertised his house for sale. And the first winner of the automobile was Tuck Fordyce. And he took the $500 instead of the automobile, and he paid off his mortgage. We were somewhat proud of the activities of the club, to think that we had saved the man's home for 50 cents. Because those tickets were so hard to sell for 50 cents, somebody came up with the idea that we would sell 15 for $1, or 10 cents a chance. And I would have loved to have seen Millage Smith and some of the rest of them stand out in front of Scott's drugstore and write a person's name 15 times for $1. Well, we adopted a policy about that first carnival. The policy of the club was that we would not contribute any cash to any other organization for any project which they might undertake. Because no sooner had it been announced that the Lions Club had taken in $2,000 at the carnival, that there was about a